Hi, I'm Bob Trask, and this is our weekly reset. And today we're going to talk about don't let's grow old. Let's not grow old. What does it mean, growing old? Old is like an old head of cabbage in the bottom of your refrigerator that you forgot was there. And you finally take it out and oh man, it's sticky and slimy, and that's old. Let's don't grow old. Let's don't go that. Let's not become that head of cabbage. The thing about growing old is that it's a denial of something that's vital, and that's youth. Youth. When we grow old, we're not young anymore. We're not young anymore. No, that may seem like kind of a, well, go, yeah, really, you're old, then you're not young. That may sound real obvious. It's not so obvious. See, there's no reason why we can't be forever young. Now, that may before you go to that part of your mind that says, "Oh, well, he's going to talk about this fantasy thing called that you can be young forever." Yeah, that's what I'm going to talk about, all right? Because let's for instance, let's say that you have a racehorse, beautiful racehorse, won a bunch of races. God, this gorgeous, gorgeous, long-limbed, muscular, shiny coat, beautiful horse. But now this horse is a little slower and it's not going to win any more races. So you put it out to pasture. And that's what they say about us. We get put out to pasture. So this horse gets put out to pasture. Now that means, according to what we think about aging in terms of human beings, that means that if you're that horse going out to pasture, that every day you get, a little lamer, your arthritis kicks in, now you're stumbling around, now your back is sloped and swayed because it's just too hard to hold your spine up, and now your head is down at the ground, and you're just sort of sloping. Oh man, you're just this old horse. That's not true. That's not true. If you go out and look at that horse in the pasture, you'll see that amazing, beautiful animal with its beautiful musculature and sleek coat and its mane and tail, and it's tossing its head. This animal is young. Maybe not run races anymore. Maybe you can't run races anymore. Maybe I can't run races anymore. But that doesn't mean we're old. That means we came to a different stage. When you were 4 years old, you weren't running races either. That was a different stage. But this thing called youth is another word for health, for vitality. And that vitality should stay with you. Shouldn't go away. That, there's no reason for that to go away. There's a story, and this is a true story, but unfortunately I cannot tell you the names of the players. I should go find it, but I haven't yet, so I don't know. But a man was told that a dear friend of his was dying and he needed to come and see him. So he went to the hospital, and when he went to the man's room, he looked in that little window in the door where they have that in some hospitals. Looked through that little window, and he saw his friend sitting up in bed with a reading light on, and he had a book in his lap. And he thought, God, he's reading. Must not be as bad off as I thought. So opened the doors and goes in, and he says, "What are you doing?" And his friend said, "I'm actually learning Chinese." And he said, "You're learning Chinese? You're dying." And he said, "No, I'm not dying. I'm alive. I'm living. Living, dying. I'm living. I'm not dying. Dying, my friend, doesn't exist. Dying doesn't exist. That's a myth. That's a fantasy. You are alive or you're dead. You're not dying. There's no sort of dying. You're alive and then you're dead. You're alive and then you're dead. But there's no space in between called dying. And some people are dying for years. I just lost a guy who was a friend of mine, and I've known this guy for 60 years, and at least for the last 45 years, he's been dying. He hasn't been living. He's not curious. He's not laughing. He's not happy. He's not participating in society. He's dead. And he finally stepped out of his body. But about time, because he'd been dead for years. So are we alive or are we dead? That might sound confrontive to you, and I apologize that it does, but let's use today as a wake-up call. Let's see if we can change something about our lives, that it gets invigorated again. It gets going again. There are healthy brains and healthy hearts, and those are the two main factors in living a long time, the brain and the heart. And the two of them are such good friends. The brain, the most amazing organ in any system, anywhere, in any time or space. That brain that lives inside of your head is a computer. It doesn't feel, doesn't have any feelings. Your brain doesn't go, oh, I feel real bad about that. Brain doesn't feel good or bad about anything. Brain's just a computer. And if you took a pencil and went through the skull and poked the brain wouldn't say, oh, ow, that hurt. Brain doesn't have any feelings. The brain is just a computer, but it's the most amazing computer in the world. But it's connected to the heart, and the heart is constantly feeding the brain information about feelings, about ideas, about imagination, about ways of about opening vistas, opening portals, all kinds of avenues of reality, so that the brain, with its vast ability, can go and sort those things out and contemplate and arrange those things. Ooh, what an incredible game. But the brain and the heart both have to stay alive, and they both have to stay healthy. And we protect both the brain and the heart in the same way. This is so easy. It's so easy. Exercise, healthy eating, social interaction, and brain games. Let me take the last of those first. We need to be challenging our brain. You know, if I'm reading a book and I'm saying, you know, I don't understand this. I read this paragraph 2 times and I still don't understand it. I'm just going to move on. Don't move on. Challenge your brain. What is the author trying to say? Yeah, I agree he or she didn't write it very clearly. That doesn't excuse me. Let's go find out what that means. I read, when I was quite young, I read The Log from the Sea of Cortez by John Steinbeck. And I'm going to make this up because I haven't read it for so long time, but in this, he talks about he and Doc Ricketts went down to the Sea of Cortez, and they're collecting samples from the tide pools, and they're putting them in formaldehyde and putting them in jars and storing them on the boat so they can take them back. And the University of California is going to be able to look at those. So what John said is that he's got these big boots on, and he said, when I step into a tide pool, I change the tide pool forever. This tide pool has been there for thousands of years, and it's never had these big boots step into it. That changes the tide pool, changes the life structure, changes everything. Then I take a scoop of something out of there and I put it in a jar. That changes it. Then I put formaldehyde in it and put it on the shelf, and it stays there for a month or two or longer. And we think that's evidence of something. Why is that important for us today? Because we do exactly the same thing. We do exactly the same thing. And incidentally, I had to read that several times in that book, Logs from the Sea of Cortez, until I got it. That and another thing that he said in that book he called non-teleological thinking, which now, after Ram Dass and some other great authors brought that to the fore, now we understand means be here now. There's only now. And he called it non-teleological thinking. Don't broadcast your thoughts out somewhere. Keep your thoughts where they are, where you lie, where you live, where you're like, it's like driving a car. You have to drive the car where the car is. You can't drive it where the car's going or where the car's been. It's got to be where the car is. And that's our lives. We have to be there. So that non-teleological thinking, that was another one I had to go over and over and over again. But coming back to the tide pools, you and I do this. We collect information and then we store that information in these little jars called our subconscious mind. And then we let that information tell us what's true. That's not true. That's not true. So a lot of people gather information, and what they're doing is they're going along the surface and they're getting the crust of the pie. They're not getting the pie. They're getting the crust. They're getting the information. Do they know what the information means? Oh, they might tell you they know what it means. They could tell you in a sentence what it means. That isn't what it means, because you can't define the meaning of anything, including the word meaning, because its concept is metaphysical and deep and abstract, and it leads you on through portals into more and more spaces and more realities, more and more textures and colors and tones. There's no end to where the word meaning can take you. But people say, well, here's what that means. It doesn't what that means. Why am I talking about that? Because I thought we were going to talk about aging. I'm talking about aging because aging is shutting down the system. It's closing the system down. It's saying, I know, when we don't know. Most problems with aging come from neglecting our hearts and our brains, not letting our hearts speak, not trusting our intuition, not trusting the music of our hearts, not trusting our imaginations, and not allowing our brains to lock with our hearts and investigate those things. And one day, when your heart and your brain have been isolated and put in little boxes like, this is the way I think, and this is what I believe, and this is my opinion, and this is who I love, and this is what when we get locked in like that, then we stop noticing the magnificence of those organs. And when they don't want to be noticed anymore, then they give up. And then comes dementia. And George Carlin said, never let the brain idle. Don't let it idle. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. He said, and the devil's name is Alzheimer's. Here's something interesting. Scientists at Stanford University discovered that genetically identical animals, genetically identicals, raised in the same cages, fed the same food, have been handled in the same way, have the same relationships with people or lab workers or whatever. And all of those animals age differently. And like those animals, some of us who are genetically similar are aging either faster or slower than the others of our genetic group. Now, what could cause the two of us who came from the same family, have the same genetics, ate out of the same refrigerator, went to the same schools, lived in the same house, how could we age differently? How? Well, genetics. You say, well, genetics. My mom was, dear sweet mama, I still love you so much, mama. Mama was always in poor health. She died of a heart attack at the age of 46. It's real tragic. My father, who I never met, was also unhealthy, and he died of a heart attack at age 52. Now, what does that say to me regarding my genetics? Mom died at 46. She was always unhealthy. My dad died at 52. He was always unhealthy, both from heart attacks. My older sister, my dear older sis, only a year older than me, my only full sibling, is also gone now. She had heart disease, osteoporosis, cancer, COPD, lung disease, arthritis, a whole vast of, like, you have to have a menu to see all the stuff that was going on with her. And God bless her, dear sweet Peg, she's gone now. How could I have come from that genetic stock and doing as well as I am at 86? Listen, can we please have some choices about how we age? Can you have some choices? Or do we have to leave it to fate? Are we driving this bus or are we just passengers with no vote as to where we're going? Well, let's find out. Let's see how we can get our body's organs to sing in harmony with one another and to be excited about living full, long lives. I was playing poker one night with a couple of highly intelligent and well-educated friends when the subject of aging came up. And I said that, I just read some studies that it was possible to reverse the aging process. Oh, both of them just instantly disagreed. They insisted that reversing the aging process was fantasy, not possible. But in 2014, scientists showed that when blood from young mice was injected into older mice, it changed their biological ages. It changed their biological ages. It restored plasticity in the hippocampus, which is that very, very important part of the brain. And it brought about a restored level of learning and memory. A restored level of learning and memory. Because some blood from young mice were injected into older mice. What does that mean? We're going into meaning now. It means that one day soon, plasma from younger people might reverse the aging process in older folks, in you or in me. And yet I talk to a lot of older people who say, I don't want to go there. Like I must not too recently, I talked to a woman and I said, she looks good. And I said, you're going to live well into your hundreds. And she said, oh God, I hope not. And I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. Those people, God bless them, are living in increasingly narrow ways of seeing and being, and their curiosity dies and they stop learning. When I was in the ambulances and doing a lot of ambulance work in San Francisco, we would sometimes go pick up old people that were either had passed away or were very frail in their homes. And when I went in, you could see that those homes had been shut down. There were like blankets or sheets over chairs so that they weren't being used anymore. And in one case, the woman was living totally with her and her cat in the kitchen. Their comfort zones. They don't want to take any more risks. Things are dangerous, things are risky. And so they shut their comfort zone down and down and down and down. And that, incidentally, is opinion. Do you have an opinion about something that you're stuck on? That opinion is a comfort zone, and it's narrow because your opinion is narrow. And those people who don't want to live to be in their hundreds, they see that their lives are closing down. It's not fun anymore. They're not having any fun anymore. And because of that, they're not learning, either because their life is either closing down because they're not learning, or they're not learning because their life is closing down. Henry Ford said, anyone who stops learning is old. Whether this happens at 20 or at 80. Anyone who keeps on learning not only remains young, but becomes constantly more valuable, regardless of physical capacity. So I may have arthritis, and I may have um, some spinal difficulties, or have a problem getting around, or this problem sleeping, or or whatever. Those are physical capacities or lacks of physical capacity. But Henry Ford said, anyone who keeps on learning not only remains young, but keeps constantly more valuable in the lives of other people, regardless of their physical capacity. So can we just, for today, just stop believing what we think? God, we are so stuck on thinking and then thinking that our thinking is right. Our thinking isn't right. It's, it's like seeing the color of something and knowing what's inside. It's like saying, I see a green Easter egg, therefore I know what the egg is. No, I don't know what the egg is until I open it. I don't know what's inside of something. But our thinking is surface. It's always surface. And we need to dig deeper, deeper, use our thinking like a shovel and dig deeper, 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 deeper. But we've been so thoroughly indoctrinated to think in one way. What if there are different, even clearer ways to think? Would we be willing to open ourselves to that? Like a rainbow is only a rainbow in our opinion. But rainbow's not a rainbow's not a rainbow. It's got a name. We give it a name, rainbow. And because we give it a name, we think we know what it is. And we look at it and we say, I see a rainbow. I know what a rainbow is. There's a rainbow. I know what a rainbow is. We don't know what a rainbow is. A honeybee or a zebra finch looking at that same thing sees something entirely different. Are they wrong? Or are we wrong? Or is anybody wrong? Or is anybody right? Or is it just different ways of digging into the reality of meaning? The honeybee and the zebra finch see things that we can't see because they see different colors. They see colors that we can't see. So many animals, so many insects see colors that we don't see. And hear sounds that we can't hear. So we're now looking at aging through a new portal, one that allows us to see how to live longer, more meaningful lives. Our bodies are made of subatomic particles that only exist when we notice them or when we think about them. Other than that, they just seem like they don't exist. Our attention, our awareness, our focus brings them into being. So thinking then is creating. Thinking is bringing into being something that is not. So what are we thinking? What thoughts do I have right now that are making up my body, my heart and my lungs, my heart and my brain? What thoughts do I have right now that are making up my body? What thoughts do you have right now that are making up your body, your heart and your lungs, your heart and your brain? What thoughts are you having right now? And I'm not asking you to think different thoughts. I'm asking you to think differently. Don't be stuck by your thought. Don't think a thing and say, there, I think a thing, therefore it is. No, I think a thing, therefore it doesn't mean anything. It's just an opinion. It's just a glance. It's just an observation. And yeah, we age at different rates, even of those who have the same genetics. So what's making that difference? Doctors, doctors sometimes when I go in for a visit or whatever, they say, Bob, tell me the secret. How do you stay so young at 86? I don't have an answer, quite frankly. I don't have an answer. I mean, I have several answers. I usually just say I meditate. So there was a doctor and 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 there was actually two doctors came into my room and they put up this film of my leg, which had been broken and then was healed. And they said, "What's your secret? Look at these bones. These bones are not the bones of somebody your age. These are bones of somebody 40 years younger than you. How do you do that? What's your secret?" Well, I don't know what to tell them. I don't know what to tell them. So I said, the only thing that's available to me, I said, I meditate. And they stood quietly for one and then for a minute, and then one said to the other one, I meditated once. I meditated once. I get a chuckle out of that because you have to be meditation. You can't meditate once. You have to meditate enough times so that meditation stays with you almost all the time, day and night. Here's why I think I'm staying younger. I'm not thinking different thoughts. I'm thinking in a different way. My curiosity pulls me into rapture, into being enraptured by the nature of things, by color and movement and music. I'm just stoned, literally stoned, drunken by the incredibleness of this universe I live in. And I'm constantly seeing life anew. I'm not working at life. I'm playing at life. And George Bernard Shaw said, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Now, let's look at science just for a minute, relative to aging. There are these things called telomeres that are at the ends of our chromosomes are kind of like shoelaces hanging at the end of our chromosomes. And the length of those telomeres determines how long we live. And they get shorter as our cells divide, they get shorter and shorter and shorter. And of course, when they get to a certain length, then we move off the planet, and that's the end of that. That's just the way things are. That's just aging. Now there's a new enzyme called transcriptase that can maintain the length and health of those telomeres. And when this enzyme was injected into aging mice, scientists saw new muscle strength, new balance, new learning, new memory. And here's an interesting thing. This enzyme has no side effects. Now, it's probably going to be a while before you and I can have plasma injected from a younger person or be restored by an injection of transcriptase. But meanwhile, here's how we use our minds to slow aging. This is important. We meditate. If you don't know how to meditate, then learn how to meditate. You can go on YouTube and look at Bob Trask 5-minute weekly guided meditation and meditate with me for 5 minutes, or you can just sit and listen to music, but not just listen. Hear the music. Hear the sounds of the different instruments. Sort them out. Listen to them. Don't let your mind go somewhere else. Pay attention. Pay attention to your breathing. Pay attention. Or if those thoughts just keep coming, and you can't get rid of those thoughts, then stop thinking the thoughts and observe the thoughts. So a thought comes to you and you say, oh, that's an interesting thought. Let me look at that thought. So you back off and look at that thought. So you extrapolate yourself from your thinking process and begin observing. That's meditation. So number 1, meditate. Number 2, laugh. Laugh, 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 laugh. Number 3, eat good food. You do the Mediterranean diet or some diet that tells you how to really live a long, healthy life and keep all of the organs of your body as healthy as possible. So eat good food and eat it sparingly. That's number 3. Number 4, laugh. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Did I say? Oh, I think I said that. Number 5, exercise regularly. Go for a walk. Learn how to play a sport. Play golf. Go bowling. Play table tennis. Do something. Exercise regularly. No, don't do it because, oh God, now I have to go exercise. Play at it. Find a way to play at your exercise. And number 6, laugh. I was sure I said that before. Laugh. Oh, well, laugh. Laugh, 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 laugh. And then 7, play with others. People who are lonely die sooner than people who have good social reactions and interactions with other people. Create larger and larger groups of friends of all ages, not just those people that are your age. Find new ages and listen. Really hear what people are saying. Go dig into where their lives are going. Play with others. That's number 7. And number 8, and there's an important one. Laugh. Oh, I did say that before, didn't I? I said it several times because it's so important. Because when you laugh, you create these neurotransmitters, you create these endorphins that go into your body and they reduce inflammation. And inflammation is the number one cause of death. You reduce inflammation when you laugh. You make your heart young. You make your brain young. And you're attractive to other people. Here's an example. Here's me not laughing. Here's me laughing. Which one of those is more attractive to you? You can be more attractive if you just start laughing and keep laughing. Laughing is how Bob Hope lived to be 100 years old. Laughter is how George Burns lived to be 100 years old. They both knew that laughter was the most important thing. And they kept joking, joking, joking. Bob Hope in his latter years said, you know you're getting old when the candles cost more than your cake. My dear friend, a positive attitude means a longer, healthier life. Until medical research can inject something that gives us a longer life, then let's live a fuller life. What good is it going to do to eventually get to get an injection of some enzyme or some plasma from another person when we're not enjoying life anyway? We've got to be enjoying life in order for life to be real. Research shows that optimistic people live 15% longer in spite of health conditions. They live 15% longer in spite of health conditions. Laugh. Laugh. My dear friend, thank you for being with me today. Let's go live life. Let's stop believing what we think and let's start thinking anew. Let's look at all new avenues of thinking. Let's challenge our brain with brain games. Do a jigsaw puzzle. Go on wordscapes in your computer. Do something. Challenge your brain and find people and ask them questions. I dare you. I dare you to go to the grocery store. And when you see somebody pushing their cart down the aisle, say, excuse me, can I just ask you a question for a minute? Where were you born? And did you have a big family there? I can tell you that within 2 minutes, they're going to be telling you their life story. You're going, oh no, they wouldn't. This is a grocery store. No, they haven't had anyone care about listening to them forever. And what you can do is make their life new, and you can begin to grow old with them in a very healthy, youthful way. So don't be like my friend. Don't be dying. Be alive until you're dead. Now, if you'll stop by my website, bobtrask.com, and leave a donation, put some bucks on the table, that'll help me continue this work. And I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And I will thank you from the bottom of my heart. And